Hi, my name is Johnny Moore, and I would like to welcome you today to Addiction and Faith, part one of a series of messages that I will be talking about concerning faith and the issues behind addiction and faith. And so, one of the things I would like to start off today is just informing everyone is that addiction in itself is a process. Now, what does that mean? Well, you don't just get there overnight. It means that there was a process to you that in your life that led you to the place where you became addicted to a substance and addicted to substance use. Now, how did that happen? Everybody's life is different, but it starts off with a beer, and you may be feeling really good about yourself, and people, your friends may tell you how you let your hair down at the club, and we didn't know that you had all of that in you, and so you found the need to continually to get high. Or some other thing may have come about that was even more catastrophic in people's lives. I've witnessed all kinds of abuse and all kinds of things that have led people into addiction. But it in itself, it's a process. It becomes a need in people's life because they don't understand that they were put here on this earth for a reason and that God has a purpose for them. And so when you're living life without a sense of purpose and you don't know what you're doing and you don't know where you're going and you don't know why you're here, you tend to feel lost after a while. You tried this and you tried that, and things didn't work out for you, and you can't understand exactly who you are and what you're supposed to be doing. And so you start using drugs and you start hanging out with the wrong crowds and you start doing these things that lead you into this process of addiction. And after a while, sometimes it takes years to enter into the process of addiction. But after a while, after you've been using and there are elements in it that cause you to question your even your sanity and question your hope, these things take a hold of you and different things start to develop in your mind as far as thinking about yourself in certain ways, that before long, before you know it, you're in the addiction process, and now you found yourself addicted to a substance, and now you're in a spiral of recovery houses and detox facilities, trying to get free from a substance that you got involved in the first place through a process. Now, let me repeat that again, because for the most part, that process has to deal with the fact that people don't understand that God has a purpose for your life, that there is something that God created you to do. There is nobody living here on this earth that doesn't have a purpose, that doesn't have meaning, that God just didn't send you down here to do nothing. He had something in mind for you to do, and something in mind that only you can do, and only you can do it with the veracity and the passion that it needs to be done. And so I implore you to find that out as we continue to go through this series. We'll be giving you different clues about your purpose and how to understand your purpose and how to get to the place where you can honor your life and honor God with your purpose. One of the things you have to realize about this process that I'm going to talk to you about now in addiction is that when we start using drugs and alcohol, a lot of mistakes are made, a lot of failures in our life are experienced, and as a result of that, we start thinking differently about ourselves. We start thinking that we're worthless. We'll start thinking that we're flawed, and we're wondering where these thoughts come from, where these ideas come from, and we brush them off for a while, but they get stronger and stronger as the addiction process gets stronger and stronger in our lives. You're in a process and things are happening now, and you can't seem to get out of the process that you've started. It seems to be spiraling out of control. And so at some point in your life, when this process of doubting yourself takes place, then you start to think about giving up on your hopes and giving up on your dreams and giving up on all of the aspirations and things that you had hoped for all of your life. And so now the process is taking stronger hold of you in your life. I hope that you're getting this. I hope that you understand this, because I'm taking you through a process that most recovery facilities and organizations don't deal with when we're dealing with addiction. These are the things that have to be addressed. It has to be about the real person, what's going on inside of that person's heart, what led them into the position that they're in the first place. And so I'm here to tell you today that addiction is a process. It didn't happen overnight. That's why it's so subtle. That's why it's so deceiving, because before you know it, you're in this environment and you're dealing with these people and you don't even know how you got there in the first place. And so these things happen. You start to feel worthless about yourself. At some point, you start to feel like giving up on all of your hopes and all of your dreams. And this shame starts to take a hold of your life. I call this toxic shame. It's a deep inner shame, because shame at that point no longer works like shame is supposed to work. It doesn't signal you when you're doing something wrong. What happens is you become shame yourself. Toxic shame is poison in the mind. And so what happens is that the mind starts to become poisoned with toxic shame, and you start thinking of yourself as being shamed yourself, all by yourself, in yourself. You're just shamed. And so these things come along and they play a deeper and more powerful role in keeping you in the bondage of addiction in the first place. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the bondage of addiction too, because I think that that's something that we need to address, because I don't really believe that addiction is a disease. I believe that addiction is a bondage. But let me finish with some of the points that I'm making here, and then we'll get back to that before I close out this video today. And so what happens is that when you're in this process and this shame starts to take place in your life, and you start to feel it, even though you don't understand what's going on, you start going in these detox places, you start going in these recovery places, but for some reason something is missing, something is not being addressed like it should be addressed in your life, and you can't figure it out. It's the shame. It's shame that now that it's taken a hold of you, and as a result of that, you start using more drugs, having more sexual acts, doing more deceiving things. You start stealing, you start going to jail. There's a lot of things that come out of that. You start walking away from your family, your children. You're not the mother or the father that you had always hoped to be or dreamed to be, because now the shame is taking hold of your life, and you don't want anybody to see you like this. You don't want anybody to see you like this. You would rather them not see you in this condition when you had so much and so many dreams and so many hopes, and they knew about your hopes and knew about your dreams. And now this shame has set into your life, and you don't want anybody to see you the way that you are. And so now you're in full-fledged addiction. It's taking hold of you, and something's got you bound, and something is attached itself to you, both physically and mentally. And a lot of times now, when it comes to addiction, you're starting to feel this emptiness inside. Like, I don't know where I'm at, and I don't know what can fill the void. And so you start taking more drugs, and you start drinking more alcohol, and you start doing these things. And now you're starting to begin to OD off of the drugs and the alcohol or whatever your addiction may be. You're doing too much of it. And you know why you're doing too much of it? It's not because you want to die. It's not because you intended to die, but it's because you have an emptiness inside that you're trying to fill. And so you take more of the substance to seek to fill that emptiness inside, but your body can't handle that amount of substance that you're putting into your body. And so your body shuts down, and now you find yourself in ODing. It's never been explained that way. But that's what's happening with a lot of people because they go too far, because they feel trapped and they feel like they're in bondage to addiction and they feel like they're giving up all their hopes and all of their dreams. And this is all that's left is just this piece of a person. And so now they're fighting to just survive every day, just to get a fix every day, just to hide from the family every day, just to get a couple dollars every day to get high. And so these things have taken a hold of your life, and we're going to help you in the years and the months ahead of us with videos and information that is going to help you understand what you're dealing with. Now, here's one of the things that I believe about addiction. You can't fight something that you don't know what you're dealing with. And I think that's one of the most deceptive parts of addiction. People are fighting addiction. People are going into detox. People are going into recovery houses. They are sincere about their recovery, but they don't know what they're fighting, and they don't know how to fight it. And so what happens is, if you don't know how to fight a bully has a way of taking advantage of that and then wounding you again and bringing you right back to the place where you felt destitute and you were belonging and you needed hope. And so that's what you're dealing with in addiction. And so we want to inform you about what addiction is. Now, this disease concept. Now, I'm not against the disease concept in terms of if it helps somebody, because we're about helping people. We don't care who get helped. But addiction in itself is not a disease. It's a bondage. It is something that keeps you bound and keeps you from being liberated. And therefore, because it's a bondage, you have to be freed from a bondage. Now, the truth, the Bible tells us, makes you free. What truth? What truth are we talking about? The truth about yourself, the truth about who you are, the truth about what you're supposed to do with your life, the truth about who God is. He's not an evil taskmaster. He doesn't want the worst for your life. He wants the best for your life. He wants to bless you. He wants to lead you into great and wonderful places. But we don't know that a lot of times. What we think is that God wants to punish us for all the wrong we've done. And that's farthest from the truth. That's not God. And so it's a bondage, and it's a bondage built on lies, things that have now just permeated your mind and has engulfed your thoughts to the place where you're riddled with all of these lies and all of these untruths that keep you in bondage. And in order for you to get really free, to live your life the way you were intended to in God, the truth makes you free from addiction. You need the truth. You need the truth. And so this is the process behind addiction. It's the thing that will lead you into addiction. We want to stop youth from going through this entire process, but sometimes you can't reach everybody. And so but we're going to do our best to keep you informed about the information that we think you need so that you can find the hope and live out the destiny and the dreams that you were meant to live out in your life. Thank you so much. Bye.